Hi everybody, I'm Larry Allen. I'm the library's communications coordinator. I am not the reason that you're here, but you already knew that. Apparently two things will draw people to one of our ReadAloud programs. One is a good author and another is a murder at Ohio State being part of the topic. Makes me a little edgy about my colleagues. I want to thank Nancy Courtney and her staff for allowing the Friends of the Library to sort of abscond with the last week of the ReadAloud. This was an extra ReadAloud program. And it was suggested by Paul Watkins, who's in the back selling books, who's a member of the Friends of the Library board, and Diana is also on the Friends board. And Paul suggested it would be great if the Friends could work with the ReadAloud committee to offer Diana an opportunity to talk about some of her works. So that's how this program came into being today. I also want to thank Beth Maston, who's sitting on the ledge there in the back, for helping with all the arrangements for today. A little bit about Diana, if you don't already know. Diana Britt Franklin is the author or co-author of a dozen books, including her newest work, The Gold Medal Killer, and The Goodbye Door, a multi-award winner in true crime and featured on television's investigative Discovery Channel. Born in England and raised in the United States, Diana began her career with the New York Herald Tribune. Subsequently, she held various editorial posts, from reporter and columnist to section editor and managing editor, at two other daily newspapers, the San Antonio Texas Light and the Columbus, Ohio Dispatch. Diana also served as press relations director for the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, presently heads Franklin & Son, a corporate PR consulting firm here in Columbus. Diana will be talking about the craft of writing nonfiction so it reads like fiction, sharing examples from some of her works. And following the program, we will have copies of a couple of her books on sale in the back. We'll also have time for questions. There are cookies and coffee in the back if you'd like something. So with that, Diana, it's all yours.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Since we are at a university, can everybody hear me? I don't speak terribly loud. Is everybody okay? Since we're at a university, I thought we'd start off with a quiz. I'm going to read a paragraph to you. The village of Holcomb stands on the high wheat plains of western Kansas, a lonesome area that other Kansas call out there. The land is flat. The views are awesomely extensive. Horses, herds of cattle, a white cluster of grain elevators rising gracefully as Greek temples are visible long before a traveler reaches them. Where'd that come from? Very good. In cold blood, that's the opening paragraph, in cold blood. When Capote wrote that, and subsequently won all the awards for In Cold Blood, it was described as the advent of creative nonfiction. I have a problem with that. There are many reporters, journalists who wrote creative nonfiction much before his time, but he got all the credit. It's a, I don't know if you call it a technique, but it's something that I have gotten into writing this nonfiction, creative nonfiction. And I'm going to read a few examples from both books, The Goodbye Door and Gold Medal Killer, and then explain how they came about and how I was able to create a scene for the reader. The first one comes from chapter 1 of Gold Medal Killer. It was easy. It would be easy just to write, Snook came out on his porch and picked up a paper and went back in, and that's about all that happened. But I had enough basic information to recreate the scene for you. This is The Shooter, chapter 1. In slippered feet, James Snook stepped out onto his porch, took a long, short breath of the June morning air, and looked to the top of the trees surrounding his sturdy double brick at 349 West 10th Avenue in Columbus. A light breeze, he observed. Good. It was a fine day for a shooting match. He reached down and picked up the Ohio State Journal. Quote, "Class of 29 to pass into history today," close quote, was the front page headline that caught his eye. He was glad he was not required to attend Ohio State University's commencement exercises, although many other members of the faculty elected to do so. As she prepared breakfast in the kitchen, his wife casually asked about his schedule. Helen knew her husband would be competing in yet another pistol shooting match, but which one she did not know, nor cared really. She was used to his absences for pistol shooting, for his work as a professor at the Ohio State University College of Veterinary Medicine, for the writing and editing of articles for monthly outdoor magazines, and for other self-satisfying interests. There's a lot of facts in there. The fact that he was a professor, that he was married, that they had a relationship, that he had a relationship with his wife that was a little unsteady, that he was a shooter, pistol shooter, that he was a veterinarian at the college, he wrote for outdoor magazines, and so forth. And the reason I'm able to write like that, not that it's great writing, but there's an awful lot of information rather than just the bare facts, that he stepped out onto the porch and picked up a paper. And going through the trial transcript and newspaper reports, I was able to recreate this scene. Hello.
She turned it on. Maybe someone has a question.
Yeah, right. You think? Dr. Snook calling? So Dr. Snook at this point, when you first are introduced to him, he's a fairly straight shooter, pardon the pun, but he has a good job and he has a family life and he has a number of different interests. So this is my way of introducing him to the reader. And you have no idea what is to become of him. But then you get to chapter 2, and again I open the chapter with a recreation of the scene, that you start to get an idea that something is not right. That this is maybe, if you know nothing about Dr. Snook, and everybody in the room I know knows everything about Dr. Snook, but those who are not at Ohio State might start to wonder, who is this man and why are we writing about him?
I just had my dog had surgery, but I didn't use a snow cook.
Oh.
He invented the snow cook.
Right, right.
That's what it's called.
Chapter 2 is titled, "We've Just Seen It." We've just seen it. And this is the discovery of the body. And in the newspaper, the report of the discovery was very brief, about one paragraph that said, 2 boys discovered a body of a woman at the New York Central Rifle Range. Sure, you can write it like that, but you don't get the picture. So I was able to set up the reader with the following. Quote, "There's a woman's body over there in the weeds." "Hey, mister, there's a body over there." Ephraim Johnson, busy plowing a 2-acre sweet corn patch with his 2-horse team, couldn't hear at first what the 2 boys running towards him were yelling. A body? In the weeds? Finally, they got close enough and breathlessly repeated their message. "There's a body over there in the weeds. We just seen it." Johnson dropped the reins and hastened to the scene of the discovery. Sure enough, a woman's body, bloody and disheveled, sprawled face down in the weeds of timothy, whitetop, and clover. In one hand, a linen handkerchief stained by blood. "Lordy," Johnson said softly. The two high school chums, Paul Krumloff and Milton Miller, were visiting the New York Central Railroad rifle range for the first time. It was June 14, a pleasant but cool morning, and the Columbus school year had ended two days earlier. Each had a rifle to fire, but before taking the weapons out of the car, they noticed the farmer in the field about 200 yards away. Fearing a ricochet might endanger a man, the boys thought it best to warn him that they would be shooting in the area. As they walked towards them, they made their gruesome discovery, initiating the most celebrated case of murder in the capital city's history. How do all those are all facts new. I didn't make this up, except I just assumed that the farmer said "Lordy." But the kinds of weeds in the field and where she lay and what they were doing there and what the farmer was plowing for, a field for, and so forth. Those are all facts that I derived from the trial transcript and from newspaper reports. And putting them all together, for me, it created an image of really what was going on and made it real.